Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the St. Tammany Parish. Let's see, this is the Planning Commission meeting of October the 11th. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Seeger? Here. I'm sorry. Seeger? My mic wasn't on. Thank you. Ress McInnes?
Here.
Truxillo?
Here.
Doherty?
Here.
Narcisse?
Here.
Gaines?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Horn?
Here.
Troncoso?
Here.
Hernandez?
Here.
Accardo?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, public announcements. Please silence all phones and electronic devices. If you disagree with a decision this commission makes, you have the right to appeal it to the council. There are appeal forms over on my right there on the railing. Fill it out and turn it into staff. Speaker cards, if you wish to speak on an item, same thing applies. Fill the card out, turn it into staff, and they'll get it up here to us, and we'll call you when the item comes up. Public speaking, 10 minutes each side and 5 minutes for rebuttal. You're welcome to leave the building after your case is heard if you wish, or you can stay and listen to all this stuff. Please rise for the invocation and pledge.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the life you have blessed us with here in St. Tammany Parish. We humbly ask for your blessings on this committee as we strive to do your will. Instill in us the wisdom to serve this parish in a fair and honorable way as we hear the cases presented to us tonight. Lord, we thank you for the blessings you have conferred on our parish, its citizens, elected officials, public employees, and servants, and pray for your continued favor as we endeavor to serve you and the public. We appreciate and offer our sincerest thanks for allowing us to live in the best parish and the best state of the best country on this earth. God bless the United States of America. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, for the commissioners, in your packet, you had a copy of the minutes from last month's meeting of September the 12th. Commissioner Crawford.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Okay, accept as written by Commissioner Crawford. Commissioner Gaines.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gaines. Please vote.
The motion to accept the minutes carries.
All right, request for postponement. Helen?
Page number 3, item number 10, 2023 3557 FP, Alexander Ridge, and Mr. Paul Marone is here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Let me read it into the record, Paul, and then we'll turn the floor over to you. The case is 2023-3557-FP. It's Alexander Ridge, Phase 4A, developer owner Savannah's Community LLC, Military Road Land Company LLC. Engineer is Kyle and Associates LLC. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable David Fitzgerald. General location, the property is located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 1081 north of Thibodeau Road, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Daugherty. Members of the Commission, Paul Marone on behalf of the developer of Alexander Ridge Phase 4A. We still have a number of items on the punch list, which you probably saw in your staff packet. We need some additional time to work through and correct those and give staff the opportunity to inspect that. So we would ask that the matter be postponed tonight until your November meeting, which we believe should give us adequate time to address each of those items.
Okay. Anyone in the audience object to this being postponed? All right, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Mr. Seeger.
I move to postpone for 1 month.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to postpone for 1 month. Commissioner Truxillo.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Truxillo. Please vote.
The motion to postpone for 1 month carries.
Item number 11, on page 3, 2023-3555 FP. It's a request to postpone Lakeshore Villages Phase 11, and Mr. Jeff Shane is here to address the commission.
Okay, let me read that one in. Case is 2023-3555-FP, Lakeshore Villages Phase 11, developer owners D.R. Horton Incorporated, Gulf Coast, engineer surveyors, Duplantis Design Group, PC, Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Jake Airy. General location, the property is located north of Oak Harbor Boulevard, west of Louisiana Highway 433, east of Interstate 10, Slidell, Ward 9, District 13. Mr. Shane.
Good evening, Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington, representing the owner and developer Horton. As staff has suggested, we concur with postponement. We simply aren't ready, as you can see at the punch list, but we have every confidence that the items on the punch list can be accomplished for your next meeting. So we would only request postponement till I think it's the November 14th meeting.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Shane. Anyone in the audience object to postponing this item? I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. I need Commissioner Seeger.
Move to postpone for 1 month.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to postpone for 1 month. Commissioner Crawford.
Second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Crawford. Please vote.
Mr. Horn, thank you. The motion to postpone for 1 month carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we go to revocations, item 1. Case numbers REV 23-10-006, the revocation of an unopened portion of an unnamed street right-of-way located on the north side of Ponchatoula, I think that's it, Drive, south of Interstate 12, between Lot 6 and 7 of the Ponchatoula Estate subdivision as delineated on map 35C, Ward 3, District 5. The applicant is Alan J. DeCourt, Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Reichert Toledano. Staff?
And the applicant is requesting to revoke an unopened portion of right-of-way in order to assimilate the property into the adjacent properties. Now, right now, this portion of right-of-way is being utilized for Tammany Utilities water line and sewer force main. So the staff is not opposed to the revocation. However, if the Planning Commission wants to approve it, it should be subject to the stipulations that I listed in the staff report.
Okay, thank you. Is Mr. DeCourt here?
Yes, sir.
You have any further information you wish to
No.
come to the podium?
Provided members of planning and development with the background information, current survey, and went through the conditions And my neighbor and myself are prepared to abide by those requirements in order for us to acquire the property. Our intention is to, once it is acquired, to clear it, and because it's a wooded area and there's a decomposing building, we're not exactly sure where it came from, either through the parish or perhaps through the developers in the late 60s when the subdivision was developed. And so our expectation is that that would be cleared away and we would enjoy the benefit of a larger piece of property for both of us.
Okay, all right, thank you. Just a lot of times, even though we have a staff report on it, sometimes the developer or owner has some additional information they'd like to share with us, which looks like most of it is already in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Mr. DeCourt,
Yes.
have you read the stipulations put forth by the staff?
Yes, we have.
Are you in agreement with those?
Yes.
That being said, I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to
With-
approve
With the stipulations.
with the stipulations. Commissioner Crawford.
Second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Crawford. Please vote.
Mr. Carter? The motion to approve with the stipulations carries.
Thank you. All right, we go to minor subdivision review. Item 2 on the agenda. Case is 2023-3552, MSP, minor subdivision of partial B into parcels B1 and B2. Owner and representative is Ben Murphy Allo. Surveyor is Low Engineers. Parish Council District Representative is Honorable Cheryl Tanner. General location, the property is located on the south side of Fire Tower Road, west of Keller Road, Pearl River, Ward 6, District 6. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 2 parcels from a single parcel of 23.67 acres. The 2 parcels proposed to be created are parcel B1 and B2, and the request requires a public hearing due to the proposed parcel B1 and B2 do not meet the minimum lot width of 300 feet as required by under the A1 Suburban Zoning District and requiring a waiver from the Planning Commission. And the request shall be subject to no additional requirements in regards to this minor subdivision, just the request for the waiver on the minimum width on B1 and B2.
Okay, thank you. Is Mr. Allo here? Anyone here representing this case? All right. This is Ward District 6. What would you suggest, legal, just postpone it? And
Can staff provide any more insight into whether there's been communications with the applicant?
Yep, we sent them information and informed them that it was supposed to be at the meeting. I'm not exactly sure the reason why they could not attend this evening. Basically, the owner is trying to create 2 parcels, and as you can see, parcel B2, they're first very limited into the road frontage along Fire Tower Road, and because of the need to create 2 parcels, they basically tried to create L1 as 109 feet and the L2 as 110 feet. So they're pretty much splitting the road frontage to allow for the creation of 2 parcels of land. The minimum lot size is 5 acres, so they're creating a 5-acre parcel, and then the remaining is 18.67 acre parcel.
okay. All right. Based on what Helen just read and everything, I don't see any reason why we need to postpone it unless someone here on the commission thinks we need to postpone it, but I would think we can probably go ahead and And they have the right to appeal it to the council if there was something that we missed or Helen missed. So I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Crawford.
Question for staff. Helen, the Fire Tower Road, is that, I assume that's not a heavily traveled road? It's probably more of a very rural road. Does anyone know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a very heavily traveled road in that particular area. If you look at the aerial, you have two residences or two parcels next to the entrance, but, you know, as you can see, it's a very
Yeah.
rural area.
Okay. Well, typically, we would postpone these things when there's no one here to speak on their behalf. But considering that they've done the right thing by keeping the acreage the proper size, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Crawford to approve. Commissioner McInnes.
It is a rural road. I was out there a couple of weeks ago, so I'll second that.
Okay. Second by Commissioner McInnes. Any further discussion? Please vote.
With the waivers?
There's a waiver.
Yes. With the waivers, yes. Thank you.
The motion to approve with the waivers carries.
Thank you. All right, item 3 is case 2023-3553-MSP. It's a minor subdivision of parcels 5A, 5A1, 5A, 3A, 8A, and 4 into parcels 5A, 5A, 1A, 4A, 5A, 3A1, and 8A1. The owners of Merrimont Properties, LLC, James Martin. Representative is Sterling Properties, Mark Salvetti. Surveyors, Acadia Land Surveying, LLC. Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Marty Dean. General location, the property is located on the north side of East Brewster Road, on the east side of Sterling Boulevard, and on the south side of Interstate 12, Covington, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to reconfigure 4 existing lots into 4 new lots. The reason for the public hearing is because many of the parcels that are involved into this minor subdivision were previously created as minor subdivision in 2016 and 2010, and the approval shall be subject to item 1 and 2.
Okay. Is Mr. Salvetti here? Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Mark Salvetti. I'm with Sterling Properties, 109 North Park Boulevard, Suite 300, Covington, 70433. I represent Jimmy Moran with Marmont Properties. Back in 2016 and 2010, we just took a stab at these sizes of these properties, and we're actually actively developing a new office building on this particular parcel. So that's why the parcel looks as odd as it does, because it fits what we're developing here. And as I've come before this body before, all property owners within River Chase agreed to cross-access. So there's going to be cross-access in future developments through parking. So there's not heavily trafficked on Brewster Road or Sterling Boulevard. There's internally movements. So that's why we're coming tonight to ask for this. It's basically a tweaking of all these property lines. They're just being moved slightly in a lot of different directions. So, and it sounded a lot more complicated when you read out all those. It's not that complicated.
You know, we hit these things, and you got to have them all in the public record.
I understand.
All right, thank you. Anyone here wish to speak either for or against on this case? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Truxillo.
Yeah, I pass that quite often. I know the area very well. And I understand what you're doing there, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Truxillo to approve. Commissioner Crawford.
Second that motion.
Second by Commissioner Crawford. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. All right, we go to case 4. It's on page 2. Case is 2023-3558-MSP. Minor subdivision of parcels A1 into parcels A1A and A1B. Owner and representative, MCDJ LLC, Christopher Berry. Surveyor, Foresight Surveying and Mapping LLC. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Martha Casabon. General location, the property is located on the north side of Ronald Reagan Highway, west of Penn Mill Road, Covington, Ward 3, District 3. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to reconfigure the existing 9.28 acre parcel into parcel A1A being
Helen.
8.
Pull the mic to. There we go.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting to reconfigure the existing 9.20 acre parcel into proposed parcel A1A being 8.281 acres and proposed parcel A1-B being 1 acre. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcel A1 was previously part of a minor subdivision approved in 2021. And parcel A1A is proposed to be created as a flag lot, requiring a waiver from the Planning Commission since the property is located south of the urban growth boundary line.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Berry here? Good evening.
I'm a representative for Mr. Berry.
Okay, come to the mic, please.
Ross Kinchin with Foresight Surveying and Mapping, 19144 Florida Boulevard, Albany, Louisiana 70711.
Okay. You have any additional information you need to share with us, or?
No, sir. I'm actually representing the buyer for this parcel that Mr. Berry is removing from the 9 acre tract, so it'll be a 1 acre tract right there next to the Dollar General. So if you have any questions, I can try to answer those for y'all.
Okay, thank you. Fill out a speaker card if you will. All right, anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against on this item? Seeing no one, I will close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Gaines.
Yeah, I had a question real quick. So it looks like the remaining 8 acres is going to be accessed by the servitude that's being created. Yeah, I was trying to make sure that we weren't landlocking the.
Correct. So that's actually the access. There's a concrete drive that goes to the Dollar General, so there's no direct access onto Ronald Reagan. So it already has an existing concrete drive right there. So that's how they'll get to the back parcel.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, understanding that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines to approve with the waiver.
With the waiver.
Thank you. Commissioner Crawford.
I'll second the motion with the waiver.
Second motion with the waiver. Commissioner Troncoso.
Yes, just a question regarding the zoning. Is that it's classified as commercial and A1A suburban. I'm assuming the 1 acre parcel that's being carved out is the commercial part?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
just clarification. Thank you.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second with the waivers. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve with the waivers carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, item 5, cases 2023-3561-MSP, minor subdivision of 12.453 acres into tracts A, B, and C. Owner and representative is Lionel A. Ponce. Surveyors, Gulf Coast Survey Solutions. Parish Council District Representative, Honorable Martha Casabon. General location, the property is located on the west side of Tantella Ranch Road, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to reconfigure 12.45 acres into proposed part Track A, Track B, and Track C. And the minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to parcel Track C does not meet the minimum lot width of 300 feet as required under A1 Suburban Zoning District and requiring a waiver from the Planning Commission. However, before we hear from the petitioner, I would like to invite you to take a look at the survey. If you noticed, Track A and Track B are actually part of the same track, and there is a road that is not a part, which actually is part of another parcel in the rear. And when the owner purchased the property, he purchased it as a 12-acre parcel. Unfortunately, after the purchase or after the survey was done, then, we found that out. And at this time, it's not possible to create Track A because it would not meet the minimum lot size under A1 Suburban. So the owner is here this evening and requesting to keep A and B together and basically to create, so A and B will become B. And to create, so basically to create Track C and just one Track B. So it will be amended. The request is amended to only create 2 parcels of land at this time. But Track C is still required to, it's still requesting the waiver of the 300-foot minimum road frontage.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pond? You heard Ms. Lambert comment, and you're satisfied with not being able to bring Track A?
Yes, sir.
Pardon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, and everything else is, you're comfortable with that too, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna subdivide, like.
Okay, all right.
And any approval will just need to be subject to a revised plat being submitted to the planning department showing just Tract B and Tract C.
Okay.
That's correct, yes.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else in the audience wish to speak either for or against on this? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner McInnes.
Helen, let me make sure I understand. On the survey, you're going to combine, or he's going to combine Tracks A and B into just one tract?
That's correct. It was purchased as a 12-acre parcel, and at some point in 1997, the parcel that is being accessed by the road that is not a part was split from the entire, which it was originally 25 acres. And unfortunately, when act of sale took place, it was sold as a 12-acre parcel, and it was not described. The not a part was not described in the legal description. And so today, Mr. Pons would like to split the property.
Yeah.
However, this issue came up, and the best way to resolve it at this moment is to create just one Track B and then Track C, and then later on we'll come back and try to resolve this issue at a later date.
But isn't Tract A and C as drawn, don't they have access on Tantella Ranch?
Yes.
But you're saying Tract A is not?
Track A was never officially created, even if it's split by a road. So at this moment, it's preferable to keep A and B together and label it as B.
Okay.
And basically create parcel C. And later on, I spoke to Mr. Pons, he's aware of the situation, and it will be resolved at a later date, but at this time, he's trying to be able to create Track C.
And, sir, there's 2 houses on Tract B?
No, it's the one residence, and the other one is a shed carport.
Oh, so it's not two livable homes? Okay. All right, I will say, I did have concern that Tract A is smaller than the A1 zoning for this area. So keep that in mind when you come back.
We were never aware of anything in regards to that little section. To me, my neighbor should have kept that part and just given me the road, and it would have been easy. But that was back in '97. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. A lot of things have changed.
Yes.
Well, I move to approve with the
Motion to approve with the
with the
waiver.
restrictions, the waiver in the future survey requirements,
So a motion to approve as amended with the waiver.
as amended with the waiver.
Okay.
Thank you, Emily.
Okay. Commissioner Gaines.
She asked my question, so I'll just second it at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Crawford.
Just one quick question for staff. The road that goes through there, is that a real road, like a parish road or a servitude or anything?
It's some sort of a flag lot. It was created as a flag lot in 1997, so the road belongs to the remaining portion in the back.
Okay.
It ends at another home.
Yeah. Let y'all figure that one out later. So, okay, thank you.
Okay.
For sure.
We have a motion and a second with the waivers. Please vote.
Mr. Carter? Thank you. The motion to approve as amended with the waivers carries.
Thank you. We go to item 6. Case is 2023-3576, MSP, minor subdivision of tract C1, A1, A1, and tracts C1, A1, A1, A, and C1, A1, A1B. Owner and representative is BSREP 2, Cypress Covington Owner LLC, Michael Blank. Surveyor is Basin Engineering and Surveying. Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Marty Dean. General location, the property is located on the north side of Pinnacle Parkway and on the west side of West Shore Drive in Covington, Louisiana, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to create 2 tracts of land from a single parcel being 47.021 acres into a 43.22 acres and a 3.8 acre. The minor subdivision request requires a public hearing due to tract C1, A1, A1 was previously part of a minor subdivision approved in 2022, and the approval should be subject to items 1, 2, and 3.
All right, thank you. Someone here, Mr. Blank, you in the audience? Good evening.
Good evening, y'all. Connor Glennon, here with Basin Engineering, representing the purchaser of the smaller parcel. 2811B Toulouse Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70119. Essentially here to answer any questions y'all might have.
Okay. All right, anyone else in the audience want to speak either for or against on this item? I'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Crawford.
So basically, we're just pulling out a 3.8 acre piece out of the whole parcel. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Crawford to approve. Commissioner Truxillo.
I second.
Second by Commissioner Truxillo. Commissioner Troncoso.
On the description, Helen, it had C1A1, A1A, and C1A1, A1B. Now, on the survey, it's C1A1, A1, and C1A1, A2. Just, I don't know, I realize what it is, but just, is there something I'm missing there It's A1 and A2, isn't it?
No. Let me see.
That's C1A12 is not a part. The parcel is the eastern parcel along West Shore Drive.
I'm
think
sorry,
you
please,
may
say it
be-
again, please?
You may be looking at the previous resub. The new resub,
Oh, okay.
is the part that this is the.
Oh, okay.
I just did the same
Okay.
Yeah, that C1A,
Oh, okay.
that C1A2 has already been
Oh,
carved
okay,
out.
thank you, thank you. Okay.
All right, sir, I need to get you to fill out a speaker card and turn it in. All right, that's all you had? Okay. All right, please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, we go to re-subdivision review. Item 7, case is 2023-3554-MRP, re-subdivision of Lot 63, Phase 3B, and Lot 66, Phase 3A, into Lot 63A in Alamosa Park. Owner and representative is Greenleaf Industrial Properties, LLC, Myron Greenleaf and Lisa Greenleaf. Surveyors Kelly J. McHugh and Associates. Parish Council District Representatives Honorable Robert Toledano. General location, parcel located on the north side of Compass Way South and on the south side of Marion Lane in Mandeville, Ward 4, District 5. Staff?
the applicant is requesting to create one lot being proposed as Lot 63A from Lot 63 and Lot 66, Alamosa Park. A public hearing is required considering that, as stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat, no lots shall be further re-subdivided without approval from the Planning Commission, and the approval shall be subject to items 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, and you are?
I'm Sarah Bates. I'm with Greenleaf Architects, 404 East Gibson Street, Covington, Louisiana, 70433. I just moved here. I'm just here for representing the owners.
Okay, and if we have any questions, try and answer them.
I'm sorry?
If we have any questions?
That's it.
Okay.
They're really simply just looking to combine
Alright.
their lots.
All right, anyone in the audience wish to speak either for or against on this case? We'll close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Crawford.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Commissioner Crawford to approve. Commissioner Horn.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Horn. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you. All right, we go to item 8. Case is 2023-3556-MRP, re-subdivision of Lot 23A into Lot 22A and 23A1, Singing Rivers Estate. Owner and representative is Brooks Danos. Surveyor is Land Surveying LLC. Parish Council District Representatives Honorable David Fitzgerald. General location, parcel located on the north side of Pine Oak Drive, across from Woodland Drive, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
The applicant is requesting to reconfigure one existing lot into 2 lots, being Lot 22A and 23A1. As stated in the restrictive covenants of the approved plat, no lot shall be further re-subdivided without the approval of the Planning Commission, and the request shall be subject to items 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Danos? Good evening.
Good evening. Brooke Danos, the address is 73645 Military Road, Covington, 70435.
Okay.
Here to answer any questions that there may be regarding the issue. I basically acquired two different lots, lots 23 and 22 in 2014 and 16, and then I combined them in, I think, 17. I recently moved and I'm attempting to sell that property, and most buyers are interested in them as separate properties. So I'm kind of reverting back to what they were before I acquired them.
Okay, all right. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak either for or against on this? I'm gonna close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner McInnes.
The plat maps of lot sizes in the area indicates that that is totally within, similar to the surrounding areas, so I move to approve. I will say, tell the buyers to build up, because you're right on the Abita River.
Oh, both properties, well, both structures are already probably 10 to 12 feet up, so
Yeah.
should be good.
All right,
Hopefully.
I move to approve.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Truxillo.
I second.
Second by Commissioner Truxillo. Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Are you going to present the last case, or you want me to present the whole business?
Thank you. All right, we go to item 9, preliminary subdivision review. Case is 2023-3375 PP, Providence Park subdivision, phases 2 and 3. Developer owners, Tower Capital Corporation. Engineers, Novus Reb Engineering LLC. Parish Council District Representatives, Honorable Martha Casabon. General location, the property is located on the east side of Louisiana Highway 1077, north of US 190, Covington, Ward 1, District 3. This has been postponed on June 13th, July 11th, August the 8th, and September the 12th meetings. Staff?
Yes, sir. The preliminary plans and hydraulic study have been reviewed by this office, and an inspection was made of the site on September 27th, 2023. Preliminary approval of this case shall be subject to the developer complying with comment number 1 and all informational items below, and no work order to be issued until all required items are satisfactorily completed and submitted. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Maroon? Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Paul Marone on behalf of Tower Capital Corporation, the developer of Providence Park subdivision phases 2 and 3. Obviously, we had a very long discussion on this case last month, and I don't want to bore everybody going through all of the facts that I went through last month. Certainly, I'm happy to address anything that anybody might want to know about, any questions that you might have. But I'll try to keep my comments short and to the point. Much of the discussion last month surrounded the drainage on the property, in particular riverine flooding and some of those characteristics. So I would just point out and reiterate some of the points that I made last month that I think are pertinent in what we're doing tonight. And first, I would just say unequivocally that we have complied with all of your ordinances. All of your drainage ordinances, all of your fill ordinances, all of your mitigation ordinance have been complied with. There is not one thing left for us to do on this project. Detention is required as part of our drainage plan. We have 2 ponds totaling 25 acres. At full build out, we will have 6,095,779 cubic feet of storage on this site that does not exist today. That is 139 acre feet of additional storage to exceed the parish's retention requirements. Not to meet it, but to exceed it. So that 139 acre feet, to give you some perspective, that is 139 acres, 1 foot deep of storage on this site. That allows us to exceed your detention requirements. This property is subject to a no net fill requirement, which means we have to mitigate any fill we want to use on the property. We have mitigated all of the fill that we intend to use on this property. In fact, we have submitted cut and fill plans that I would tell you I think are the most detailed of any cut and fill plans that the staff probably has ever reviewed. But if not the most detailed, certainly right up there. We took great care and great concern to make sure that we accounted for all of the fill and that we demonstrated that we accounted for all of that fill and that we meet all of your ordinances with regards to no net fill on this property. Now, let's push that aside for just a second. The concern last month was, well, you know, Mr. Marone, you haven't even thought about riverine flooding. That's the issue. You haven't even talked about that. Well, I did talk about it last month, and I'm going to talk about it again now, but I'm going to draw your attention. What I'm about to tell you is how we propose to address the riverine flooding. First, because we've tried to address it, we clearly recognize it. I want to make that clear. We clearly recognize our proximity to the Little Tchefuncte River and the importance of building consistent with that distance and those characteristics. So, you know, it's been suggested that, well, you know, the developers don't care about flooding, that, you know, it's the council's got to make sure and protect against that. And that is a legitimate function of the council, but the first part of that statement has always bothered me. There is nobody that cares more about whether or not the future homes in this development flood than the developer and the builder. Because you cannot stay in business if you are a developer that builds developments that flood, or if you are a builder that builds homes that flood. Does it happen sometimes? It does. But nobody cares about that more than the people whose very livelihood depends on it. So I just wanted to make that point. So, how have we proposed to take cognizance of and try to address the riverine flooding that happens in this area? First of all, we have increased the floodplain capacity. What does that mean? That means when the river comes up, we have created more area for those floodwaters to go than exist right now. And in fact, we created 115,144 cubic yards of additional floodplain storage. That is, when the river comes up, there is 115,144 cubic yards of additional area for that river to flow into when it gets outside of its banks. That will exist after this project. It does not exist before. Will that fix everything in this basin if that water comes up? No, it won't. And I want to be clear about that. That's not our obligation. That's not something that we could do. But what we have done is we have gone a step beyond what your ordinances require. I would say a big step beyond to create that additional floodplain storage. Also, the vast majority of the water from this site right now flows into the Soap and Tallow branch, which is to our east. That is also the outfall of McGee Road and some of those properties there. We know that there's concern about McGee Road. So what have we done about that? We have taken the vast majority of the drainage flow from our property that currently goes into the Soap and Tallow, and we have taken that, we have directed that to our ponds, and we are outfalling that further to the south, an existing drainage canal that the parish built, so that it does not compete with the waters from McGee Road to get into the Soap and Tallow. Does that fix all the issues that occur on McGee Road? Does that fix all of the issues that would be from the properties to our north? No. But that is a meaningful step in trying to do more than the ordinances require in order to account for some of those issues that we see out there. So when the suggestion was made, well, you've not done anything for riverine flooding, those are the things that we have done in cognizance of and concern for the riverine flooding. And those are, respectfully, those are big items. I mean, again, they're not going to fix the whole world. But over 115,000 cubic yards of additional floodplain storage is a lot of floodplain storage that doesn't exist now. Taking all of the water from this entire, not all, the vast majority of the water from this property and redirecting it so that it is not competing with and adding to the other waters, provides more capacity than exists now for the Soap and Tallow branch. I tell you all those things, and I respectfully request your approval this evening. We have worked very hard with your staff. Our engineer has spent many, many hours working on this, revising plans, because we want to get it right. Our guidepost in trying to get it right are your ordinances. I start by telling you that we had followed your ordinances and we meet your ordinances, and that's true. But I've also told you tonight how we have gone above and beyond your ordinances. There is simply nothing more that we can do on this site. We believe that we have properly engineered this site. We are comfortable that we have done our level best to produce the best project that we possibly can. And we ask for your consideration this evening in approving our preliminary request for Providence Parks. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Anyone wish to speak against on this item? I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner McInnes. Pardon?
I'm sorry, what? Oh, yeah. Yes. No, I'm going to hold that as a threat if y'all don't listen to me. Yeah, at the last meeting, yes, I presented a lot of information on flooding in the Goodby area. I live in the Goodby area. I've experienced repetitive flooding over the last 20 years, and I know people who have lived there 40 years, and they've experienced more than me. The commission approved a 1-month delay for us to meet with staff and consult other sources so we could look harder at riverine flooding and look harder at what's being planned and what is actually happening on the ground historically. So we did that. We had a very productive meeting, long and productive meeting with engineering staff from 2 departments, and went over a ton of information and data. And the result of the meeting is that we recognize the potential of repetitive flooding at the Providence Park locale is would be greatly reduced if we built at 2 feet above base flood elevation. Of course, now that it's only required for 1 foot above elevation. The good news is, as Paul described, you guys have already gone above the 1 foot already. And so, particularly for phases 2 and 3, it's my understanding that you're not that far off from the 2 foot above the base flood elevation. And as I understand it, you're not as close on phase 1, but you're still over the 1 foot, so you don't have as much to go there either. I just want to remind you, and also that we have new commissioners, that this area of this subdivision has a very high number of repeat flooding homes, over 50%, or about 50% of the homes are on FEMA's repetitive flood list. And almost all of the homes on McGee Street that abuts this property, and there's some properties south of this property, so it doesn't take much to figure that in between those was timberland that nobody, because there's no structures, we have no data, but it's clear that it flooded as much as these other areas. Our commission has the responsibility, and we are allowed to look at, I mean, we must look at code, but we can also look at health, safety, and welfare of citizens. And if you're going to put over 400 homes where there's a high potential, I mean, and I've got the data, I've got the speech right here on my phone, and I'll give it again, of all the flooding data for this region. It makes sense that we don't want to have the National Guard rescuing people from 400 homes, or even 100 homes in this area. They're already rescuing people down my street, just a mile or two north of there. So I would like to ask Paul, is this something that you guys could consider, is to accept the 2 foot above the base floor of the finished home elevation?
Thank you. Yes, that is certainly something that we can consider and would consider. I guess, however, I'm not in a position at this moment to make a commitment to do that, although I would be in a position to make a commitment this evening. But in fairness, I would like to know, I'd like to hear from anybody else that wants to speak, because if this is the first of 30 requests, well, that's a little bit different. I need to see what those requests are. If this is the only request, then that makes it easier for me to be able to respond. But I understand what Ms. McGinnis is saying, and I believe that that's something that we can probably make a decision on tonight. But again, I'd like to know if there are additional requests out there before we answer this first one.
Thank you. I'd like to move that we accept this subdivision with the stipulation that all homes are above the 2 foot base flood elevation. I can hold that proposal if I see there's several people in the queue.
Okay.
So you prefer I hold it? All right, I'm going to hold. Thanks.
All right, Commissioner Seeger.
I would like to yield my time to any of the other commissioners that have stipulations besides the one that Nell made. And if they're hearing none, Paul, it seems like there are no other stipulations, and Nell has a motion.
I have some questions. We have questions, so that may bring about a stipulation, but I don't have one like ready.
Okay. I yield.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Gaines.
So, Paul, I too met with staff and everything in the interim between the last meeting and this one, and they were able to greatly help me understand the flooding in that area, and I don't have any idea what riverine even means, but I understand how the water flows through that area now. Talking with Ted and his staff, as my understanding is that the slab level is already about 1.5 feet above the base flood elevation on the majority of the homes as designed. So we're only talking about another 6 inches, right?
Yes, roughly. It moves a little bit, but that's about right.
Bring the slab up a little bit. And as far as I know, since it is a zero net fill zone, you're excavating the dirt from the proposed pond and everything in order to place the fill, right? So it's not like we're asking you to. He's shaking his head. I mean, is that true? Because I mean,
Yes.
You can't be bringing any other fill in, right? So it's got to be excavated from the pond or.
You are right, but what I'm saying, and
I understand the cost to move from one section to the other. There's a little
Right.
bit of cost involved with that, yes.
But what most of y'all see is right now we have 60,000 cubic feet or cubic yards
Sure.
of excess storage. By us raising the lots, we also have to raise the adjacent green spaces that are already depressed.
I get you.
You see what I'm saying? As you make me go higher, you're going to lose some of that storage.
So
I'm
while
not
I
going
got
to be able to keep it the same because I can only count what's above the 100-year water surface elevation of the pond.
Sure.
That's not going to move based on this. We're digging dirt out from under the pond to get the fill. So you're going to lose floodplain storage as we go higher. On a higher, it's very complicated.
No, I get it.
It's very
So
complicated.
that actually leads to my next question is that what was the what was the kind of the thought process that led you to like a slab-on-grade home versus like an elevated pier-on-beam foundation in an area? That way it would eliminate the need to put the fill underneath altogether.
So that's a really good question. My name's Jason Ellis. I'm the chief engineer for Novus
figured
Web
you were.
Engineering. I know I met a lot of y'all throughout the life of Providence Parks. I've worked on this project from phase one, from the beginning when it was woods to today. I've been doing development work, and I've probably been part of over 3,000 lots across multiple states, designs. What I can tell you is that FEMA has certain regulations, DHH has certain regulations about manholes, lift stations, attended facilities to buildings to actually be elevated above the 100-year flood. So if you go out towards coastal areas, you'll see their AC units and everything way up in the air.
Yep.
That's kind of something similar here where people don't choose to get on pier on beam. We had this discussion with an ordinance committee about pier on beam and mandating it a long time ago and talking about fill. It's just not economically feasible for the builders to build pier on beam. Slab on grade is much easier for them to do. Pier on beam introduces a lot of issues with foundation design and things like that are different than a slab on grade. They know that can work in a lot of cases with certain dirts. Pier on beam's a little more complicated to design. And I would say that, you think about subdivision on pier on beam, that's great. We put them all 6 feet in the air, right? But the roads down here are still down here. Your cars are still down here. There's still things that are going to flood.
Well,
at the
absolutely,
ground level.
and people would understand and take that risk by building in a flood zone, but at least they wouldn't lose their house.
Yeah, I agree.
And building above 2 foot building above 2 feet above the base flood elevation also lowers their flood insurance cost.
It does.
So that flood insurance cost would offset exponentially, by the way, because you get that savings every year of any additional costs it would make to engineer the foundation for elevated foundation. So,
Understood.
yeah, those things are, and I built many elevated foundations in my past, so I understand very well how they are put together. I just, you're correct, exactly correct on the more fill you add, you're losing that retention in a surrounding area, you're losing some of the green space. I completely get it. Would you consider, especially in some of the lower areas in the back, I mean, you could do, Ted, what was the name of the foundation? And it's slipping my mind right now, where they're building the concrete wall and filling in the middle.
It's basically just a contained fill.
It's a chain wall.
Chain
around
wall,
it.
yeah, there we go.
Contained fill.
There's some other options like that, and, I've worked with all the engineers around here. I know that they're capable of
Right.
engineering that type of foundation. Is that something that you guys would consider instead of having to add all of this additional fill underneath? I mean, look, I'm good either way.
Yeah,
I just think the cost benefit is not there.
No, I knowing our builders,
Who's your builders? What's that? Oh.
Go ahead.
That's not something that we could agree to this evening.
Sure. So I just want to disagree. You brought some very good statements up. I agree with most everything you said, except for one point. You did make a point that builders are very much not in favor of building in a flood zone, and I would contest that Spring Lakes is a testament against that statement, and where they did it, and they built it all at the base flood elevation, and all those homes have flooded, and that's right near where you're currently building. I'm not saying that DSLD is one of your builders,
Right.
but I know that there are some out there, not necessarily yours, who don't necessarily take that in consideration, and that's what we're trying to consider.
Sure, and look, I understand that, and there are certainly there are builders that, I should not group all builders together, but
Sure.
I would say again that the worst thing for a builder is to build homes that flood.
But when you're that big, you don't care.
And
So,
I understand your position.
yeah. So we're just trying to, as my colleague and I are trying to do, is make sure that the future homeowners are protected. I think that additional 6 inches of fill is not, and you guys would have to work it out with the engineers on what that's going to do with the green space and the retention availability, but it gives you what you want, which is to build slab 1 grade. It helps us to mitigate the potential flood issues of the future home sites and everything. Now, the question I had for legal is, how do we encode this into the subdivision plan so that that is a requirement? And because one thing I don't want to happen is we release this, the developer develops it, and the builder comes along and does not only has to comply with the ordinances and not necessarily the stipulations that we put forth. So how do we build this into the subdivision so that the future builders have to comply with the additional restriction?
I'm not really sure, not having heard what the stipulation is going to be clearly, how you're going to do that. I mean, it's easier with a PUD plan when you all have that authority to add those stipulations to the PUD plat. Oh, but the PUD's already been approved. It would have to be an amendment to the PUD.
It'd have to be an amendment to the PUD.
In terms of doing this as a stipulation to a preliminary approval. There are.
I'm sorry, if I could, I would say that there was 2 things that we did discuss, just because I think I've met with pretty much everyone here for this one. One, modifying the restrictive covenants that would be recorded. Oh, I'm sorry. One that would modify the restrictive covenants that would be recorded with the plat. Right now, we already have it in our ordinance and spelled out on every plat that it has to be BFE +1 per the new amendment to the ordinances, and that change would reflect a BFE +2 in lieu of the BFE +1. And we would obviously have to notify planning and the permits department of the change of the stipulation, but I didn't think about the PUD aspect. We probably could also do a minor amendment to the PUD issued by Ross that changes that PUD amendment and a revision to the PUD plan. But
I think that might be the best way to go about it.
I would probably recommend both of them.
Restricted covenants on the
Yes, sir,
plot
on the
design.
plat as well as on the PUD plan. And
So
I
we
don't
make
wanna
an amendment to the plot design that to be 2 feet above base flood elevation, and if you guys are good with that, then I would support it.
Perhaps Nell needs to amend her motion to include that.
I'll yield my.
Yeah, we've still got 2 people in the queue, so let's see what they have to say. Okay? John, you finished?
Yeah, he yielded. All right. Quick question, and I'm the new guy here, so I'm just trying to figure things out. Don't beat me up for it. You mentioned that no one wants to build a subdivision that floods, which is honorable, obviously. I think a lot of the concern comes from you don't want to build the subdivision that floods. What about the existing homes? Is there any protection? Because once you build up, obviously that water flows somewhere, and I think that's what Ms. McInnes is talking about.
Good question, and that's different than not wanting ourselves to flood. What about the people around us?
The displacement, right.
Yeah, are we doing things that will be fine, but we've now put others at risk? Very, very, very good question. And so I would answer it in this way. So when we are preparing our hydrological study, we've got to take into account those off-site flows that we affect. So if we've got water that is flowing from my neighbor, we can't dam that water up so that it backs up and then floods that neighbor. We've got to account for that as part of our drainage plan. So that's how we've got to demonstrate that not only what we're doing meets your ordinances, but that in doing so that we don't negatively affect our neighbors.
Like create a levee or,
correct,
yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's the typical thing is, well, my water used to flow to you, and now you've built up 3 feet, so my water can't get out, it's backing up on me. That's the situation, and we've got to account for that and make sure that we don't impede those flows.
And the water that drains off is going to be retained or detained?
Correct. We've got to then take our own water so that we don't push it to our neighbor, and we've got to channel it to our detention ponds and retain it, and then meter it out from there.
Okay, Commissioner Ricardo.
Yes, and I'm a new kid to the block on this commission, but I'm not new to the parish. I served 16 and a half years as emergency management director, and I know where the water goes and where it comes from. And you're talking about building up and things of that nature, but you still have to get people in and out. The roadways go under. we then the parish has to offer sheltering. They still have to offer services. I know for a fact, when disasters happen of that nature, then we get medical.
Right.
Then we have to send boats. It just compounds and compounds. I know you're trying to do the best with retention and things of that nature, but there is no Mother Nature formula, and I've seen that happen. I'm not confused, and once again, I know the area well. I've been in the water. I've been out there with the sheriff's people. I've had open shelters and all, and I just wonder, where is this going? You know, are we just no water in the house, but everything else has got water? It's still a problem. It's still a problem. And to the gentleman's point of, well, we build up and the water's got to go somewhere. You know, somebody else is going to get hacked off. You know, I can tell you right now. It's a tough area that you're trying to develop. It really is. And there is other and had I been sitting on this commission, I would be telling them when they developed, I'd be saying the same thing. You know, we learn from our mistakes, hopefully, in the parish. And I've been through a bunch of disasters in my 16 and a half years through Katrina and all. And I'm not good on creating more problems.
Well, I certainly respect your concern, share your concern. And I mean, let me be very clear to your point, and it's a point that's well made. We have done our level best to meet and exceed the ordinances. Does that mean that there can't be an event that is going to have, create a problem for this area and others? I can't tell you that, you know, and I'm not here to tell you that. What I am here to tell you, though, is that we have done our best, and we think that we have plans that make this a safe and appropriate place to be. I mean, we have had some events in this parish, and we've seen a lot of them. Certainly over the last 20 years, but I mean, I think of things like the Abbey on River Road.
Never
I've lived
happened.
here my whole life. It never would have dawned on me that there was a possibility that what happened at the Abbey could have happened at the Abbey. It blew my mind. It still blows my mind. So, and so I understand we've seen things like that, and that raises concerns, and those are legitimate concerns, and I respect that. You know, we believe that we are designing this with those concerns in mind, and that we have put the best and most appropriate protections in place. To Ms. McGinnis's motion, if that is the only stipulation, then that is certainly something that we will agree to and can agree to. My only question to Ms. McGinnis is that when you restate your motion, I think to add some of the other things that we've talked about, if you could be clear that we're talking about the effective base flood. I think we're talking about 2 feet above the effective base flood. I look to staff I just want to make sure we're all clear on what base flood we're talking about, because we've got different maps out there, and I don't want there to be confusion going forward. That's all.
Okay. Commissioner Seeger.
I'm going to try to clean it up, and so I move to accept this proposal with the stipulation that we have a 2 foot above the affected flood elevation for the building. I think I've said it all. Yes, 2 feet, 2 feet for the foundation above the effective flood elevation.
Lowest finished floor elevation, I think, is what we
Yes.
would want it. The lowest finished floor elevation would be 2 feet above the effective base flood. Yeah, finished floor. The finished floor elevation would be 2 feet above the effective base flood elevation.
So moved. What he said.
Commissioner Gaines.
So I wanted to explain to some of the new members and everything. So the way this watershed works, it's not going to retain water for multiple days. I don't know that there's a place in the parish that does, because we have such a good watershed that flows down into the lake. It just backs up as its intention to try to get to the lake. So in this area, it's going to back up, and actually, McGee Road is actually a lot higher than a lot of these other areas in this plat design, but it floods at different ways because of the way the watershed trickles down. So the base flood of elevation and the work we did in the interim between the two meetings is that 2 foot is going to is most likely, as Mr. Marone stated, we can't, account for nature. That 2 foot of elevation will bring it above the most recent historical floods, which were above the base flood elevation. So now that is not going to, am I saying all this right? That is not going to create extra water that's going to go and flood the neighbors, because it's water's water, right? There's enough water there. We're not creating additional water that's going to go and flood the neighbors, and they're diverting a lot of that water into a different tributary so that it won't back up the same tributary that's trying to reach everything. Did I cover all that pretty well? So having said all that, agree with the stipulation that the finished floor level will be 2 foot above base flood elevation, I'm going to say it a little differently. Finished floor 2 feet above base flood elevation, amended to the covenant of the PUD. I will second that motion.
Okay, Commissioner McInnes.
I appreciate what Mr. Accardo was saying, and just to back up, the zoning has already happened, so we can't really talk about zoning, but the zoning for this density should never have happened at this location. So it is the best we can do at this point is to build up and hang on, because I'm hoping at least 2 out of the 3 big ones
without a recording. They'd be in violation of open meetings law.
I'm sure there's someone back there.
Thank you, sir, for your support.
System is on.
Or you violate code XYZ. Or state law, whatever.
So you turned the switch off? It was you? You It says system is off.
And we thought we were gonna leave early tonight.
Yeah. Have you tried rebooting it?
No.
No? Okay.
Thought planning and zoning would come up, but
Well, since my baby left me.
it might be trying to come up by itself.
I think we're gonna have to reboot the whole actual unit in the closet.
How long will that take?
It's all locked up.
And I'm not so worried about this system, but if we need to be recording in order to complete our meeting.
But if the system's not up, then we don't have any mics.
No, I can hear mics, but they can't, I only hear the room mic.
I have a phone recorder.
Okay.
it's coming back up. It's coming back up. No reason to reboot. You're there.
Hey, you came to an event from Clinton.
No, you're on the agenda, you're fine.
I don't know whether to touch it or leave it alone.
Getting out early.
If they,
See, it'll still let us vote.
if they vote by hand, if they stop, oh, they're good.
Now come home. Yeah, come home, come on. We up. Yeah.
Can we vote without having
I'd want to get
the case number?
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to get confirmation from
I
them that.
think it'll let us vote.
Hold on, wait, I need to make one clarification on the record before we read it. What's that? We good? Okay, thank you.
So we are up now.
Yeah, I just want to make one quick
Okay.
statement for the record.
All right, I'll turn the meeting over to my legal counsel.
Just for completeness of the record, since this is something that this commission has not done often, and since this stipulation is going beyond what the current ordinances provide for, I just wanted to clarify that you all as a body have the authority under section 12594 of the Code of Ordinances, which says the Planning Commission shall review whether subdivision plans meet the minimum requirements and shall consider whether the plans ensure and conform to the best interests of public health, safety, and welfare. The Planning Commission shall reserve the right to stipulate any reasonable additional requirements for subdivisions, and these considerations may include, but are not limited to, recreation areas, general street design and construction specifications, buffer zones and screening, lot designs and configurations. And I think the stipulation that has been put forward would be for construction specifications. So just for the completeness of the record, I wanted to make that statement. And I do think that it would be a good idea, in addition to having it listed as a covenant on the plat, to consider doing a revision to the PUD as well.
Okay, Commissioner McInnes.
And how would that happen, to make amendments to the PUD?
I think that staff is going to discuss that with planning
Yes.
department and the developer to
Yes, ma'am.
see if we can do that administratively and
Yeah, I
with
believe based
cooperation.
on the ordinance that outlines amendments to the PUD, that this one will be deemed administrative, a minor amendment to the PUD, which is administrative nature, that we can do and process. And it'll be two of the comments that we issue, subject to the approval of this one right now. We send an after-action item that says you were approved based on these stipulations, and two of the stipulations would be a modification to the PUD outlining this requirement, and then a modification to the plan submitted to us outlining this requirement and verifying your cut-fill calculations are still in compliance, which I don't believe they will have nearly any effect on. But both of those stipulations will be outlined in the after-action item that the staff sends out, and the modifications will be done administratively.
Could you say that again? No.
If you want me to.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank the developers for agreeing to the restrictions that our stipulations that we've added, and thank you, my fellow commissioners.
Commissioner Crawford.
I just had one quick question, hopefully not to complicate things. Restrictive covenant 6 on the plan talks about the minimum elevation for lowest floor, and it says that it would be a minimum of 1 foot above the crown of the adjacent street or meet the latest FEMA standard. Is that what we're talking about? We would simply change that note to 2 feet?
That is correct, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And those all get verified at the final approval before we actually record the plat, to make sure that any of these modifications are
Okay.
on the plat before that document is recorded in the clerk of court. Yes, sir.
That's fine with me. Thank you.
Commissioner Truxillo.
Do we have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Call for vote.
question.
Commissioner McInnes.
I do want to say that, this is just phase 2 and 3, that I hope this will also include phase 1, because when it comes for final review, we'll bring it up again. So you might as well go for it now. Thanks.
Commissioner Troncoso.
I have a question. Does the parish have a right to enforce a restrictive covenant on a subdivision?
So kind of like legal mentioned earlier, there is an actual set of parish enforceable restrictive covenants that are outlined in section 125, the subdivision ordinance. One of those restrictive covenants is the one that they just referenced, item number 6.
Okay, Ted, if you said that earlier, would you please speak a little louder into the microphone because I can't hear you?
Sorry, I guess I should just talk to the mic. I
I'm
always try to
sorry.
turn around and talk to you guys. I'll just talk to the mic.
That's
Yeah. So it was something that was brought up earlier. In accordance with section 125, the subdivision ordinance section, there is a list of parish enforced restrictive covenants, which is why we require them to be displayed on every plat from tentative, preliminary, and then ultimately with final. One of those restrictions is the one that they just referenced, number 6, I believe it was, that speaks to the BFE plus 12 inches above the road or 12 inches now above the BFE, whichever is the greater of the two.
Right.
So outlined in section 125-94 that Ms. Emily just read, that clarification would give us the authority to modify that one. It fits within that description of what that ordinance allows for this body to change. And so the after action will require it to be noted on the plat, and then we'll make the appropriate departments aware of it. But it will be an enforceable one once it's all said and done. Yes, sir. I guess that's the simpler way to answer.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Seeger.
As my fellow commissioner requested a few moments ago, I call for an immediate vote at this time, right now, immediately, as a point of order.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Everybody's had their opportunity to speak, so please vote.
Mr. Troncoso? Thank you. The motion to approve with the stipulations carries.
All right. So we go now to item 12, as 10 and 11 were postponed to the November meeting. This is case 2023-3559-FP, Estates of Watercross Subdivision Phase 2, developer owners Watercross Development LLC, engineer surveyors Duplantis Design Group, PC, Parish Council District Representative Honorable Marty Dean. General location, the property is located on the east side of West Shore Drive, north of Pinnacle Parkway, north of Interstate 12, Covington, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
Yes, sir. Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on September 28, 2023. The inspection disclosed that a 2-inch asphalt road binder course was installed, and the roadside swales and subsurface drainage are functioning. The following uncompleted items numbers 1 through 6 existed at the time of the final inspection and will be completed before plats are signed. Item 7 is being removed by staff as this item was incorrectly added to the staff report. Additionally, should the Planning Commission approve this request for final approval, a performance obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of 1,366 linear feet at $40 per linear foot times 1/2 for a total of $27,320 for a period of 2 years, or 75% of the total lot construction, whichever comes first, to cover the cost of the final 2 inches of asphalt wearing course to be constructed at a later date. Additionally, no warranty obligation is required at this time. However, one will be established for a period of 2 years upon the completion of the final 2-inch asphalt pavement lift and the release of the above referenced performance obligation. Mandatory developmental impact fees are required in the following amount. Road impact fee at $1,077 per lot times 40 lots for a total of $43,080, and drainage impact fees at $1,114 per lot times 40 lots for a total of $44,560. Thank you.
Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, Paul Maroon on behalf of Watercross Development LLC and the Estates of Watercross Phase 2. I can report to you that as of today, all of the general comments have been addressed for items 1, 2, and 3. All of those areas have been matted, hydroseeded, and hydromulched. So if probably didn't have a chance to go out there today or coming in, but if you had seen it, we've provided some pictures to staff. All of that is completely covered with everything we could possibly do to address those items. Item 3, all of the stormwater pollution best management practices have been put in place and are there as required. Excuse me, the final plat revisions are all done, and the as-bills were done as well. There was a little confusion with regards to the as-bills in that some of the infrastructure for this phase had to be put in for a prior phase, and so there was some confusion there, and so we had to make some adjustments to sort of clarify some of that, which we have now done, and that is all complete. So everything on the punch list is done at this point. We would respectfully request your approval, subject to the staff comments and including the informational items and the obligations that are set forth therein. Be happy to answer any questions that any of the commissioners might have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I want to close to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Seeger.
Move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Seeger to approve. Commissioner Truxillo.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Truxillo. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you, Paul. All right. We go to old business. This is item 13.
Last but
All right. Case is 2022-2845-MSP, a minor subdivision of 7.38 acres and 3.61 acres into parcels 3A, 3B, and 3C. Owners and representatives is Maribel Soto Burgos Curio. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Marty Dean. General location of parcels located at the northeast corner of Dummy Line Road and Louisiana Highway 1077 and along Curo Lane, Madisonville, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
Yes, sir. Honorable Commissioners, the above referenced project received minor subdivision approval from the Planning Commission on May 10th, 2022. However, due to the unique nature of this minor subdivision and the increased construction costs associated with the rise of inflation, the owner is seeking a waiver of the St. Tammany Parish Ordinance Section 125-189A and requesting the private drive be approved as constructed. The petitioner, Mr. and Mrs. Bodenheimer, have provided the attached letter regarding this request and the need for the aforementioned waiver. Thank you.
Good evening. You folks are?
My name's Kirk Bodenheimer. This is my wife, Jolie Bodenheimer.
Okay. You're comfortable with everything that's written now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, since there's no one behind them in the audience, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Troncoso.
Yes, so question, what is the condition of the road right now?
It's a gravel paved road that we've constructed. I mean, right now it's just a construction road. You know, we still got concrete trucks and deliveries all, but once the final construction's done with it, we're gonna regrade it and re-gravel it, you know, to make it look better. But right now it's just like a construction entrance.
I think under the circumstances that it's a family use, no other users involved, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then I would make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Troncoso to approve. Commissioner Horn.
I second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Horn. Any further discussion? Please vote.
The motion to approve carries.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Y'all have a good evening. Sorry it took so long, but things take a long time.
Thank you so much.
Did do what? Motion to what?
Adjourn.
Oh,
Adjourn.
okay. All right. We have a motion to adjourn. There was no new business anyway, so.
There was nothing like my first
Ted, did you get